Everyone, this is the first time I've done a live on my own channel. I'm usually live on Sunshine's channel, but I don't have a slot for that, so I thought I'd come on here. But I just thought I have to come on because I know lots of you who follow me will have just been on the webinar for that was hosted by us but presented by Alex Partridge, where he talked all about his life with ADHD and the moment he realised he had ADHD. Oh my goodness, how bloomin' incredible. Do say hello if you can see me, by the way. It says that I can wave to you. I'll just wave in person rather than clicking a button. It's been absolutely phenomenal, and my colleagues will laugh at me because they know how I like to... oh, yes, Kelly Jarvis, come on. I don't know whether it's... are you live with me? I'm usually very good at lives. Oh, there we go! Yay! Wasn't that brilliant?
Oh my gosh. Like, I love webinars. I do them a lot because I love them. I love learning. I'm actually like a bit lost for words. So those of you who may know me, I don't usually get lost for words. I have words coming out of me like anything. I can't put a sentence together really because I've been so profoundly sort of changed. I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but that last sort of 2 hours has fundamentally altered how I see myself, people I know, my family.
It was, you know, I was thinking, I was going to come on and I was like, right, I'll make some notes all the way through and mention some. As you know, because I showed in the webinar, I have hundreds of notes. I have gone through an entire, I've got about 25% of my Post-it notepad left. Look at that. That was a full pad.
Nice.
I have made so many notes, but what I absolutely loved is this, this sort of, we're big here, like the reason we're friends as well is that we value connection and human connection, right?
I thought like that.
There we go. There we go. You don't look drunk now. Not that I'm saying you're drinking on the job. I mean, I've got will powders, as you know, because I've just texted you saying I'm a little bit off my head. I had the brain powders to keep me awake and functioning because I don't normally work this time of night. And now I fear I'm never going to sleep again because my brain is very awake. Good old will powders. But this sort of... there was a real theme throughout the webinar of connection. You know, there were certain people in his life that were really, really important. And I won't give too much away because some, you know, spoiler alerts, there's a lot of people who've bought tickets to the actual event to get the recording. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but he mentions a lot of important people. And also, you know, it was mentioned in his book as well. But, you know, one of the things that I wrote down, never worry. I don't know if it's coming up back to front.
Never worry alone.
Never worry alone. I love that. And I just love that there were so many tips for parents and teachers with absolutely no judgment underneath them. Just look, this would have really worked well for me. Having spoken to others, it would really work well for others. And I just thought, you know, this sort of stuff is what we all need, where there's no judgment in it. It's coming from a real place of love. And interestingly enough, I'm going to digress. Shock horror. Chrissa digressing. I had a really fabulous meeting earlier this morning with someone who shares, you've met him before, Cull Mahay, who we love at Sunshine. And Cull and I were talking about how we make change, how we change attitude and like culture in terms of accepting anything, whether it's children with SEND, whether it's any form of diversity, right? And he said it's got to come from a place of love. Like where you can't come at this from a place of anger because you're going to send people away. In order to invite people into learning, it's got to have an undercurrent of love. And we were talking about, I know that I'm digressing, but it does make sense, I promise. We were talking about pride festivals. You know, like
Hmm.
every city has a Pride festival. And when I think of Pride, I think of acceptance. I think of inclusion. I think of love and just positivity and colour
Yeah.
and beautiful smells and just everything amazing. So I feel like I could attend a Pride festival because I'm welcome. And I think that's the culture change we've got to have, because the government have, whatever your political beliefs, it doesn't necessarily matter, but those at the top have put such pressure through funding and everything else. They put so much pressure on the SEND community that now it's starting to divide,
Mm.
and that's where they're winning. And that's where we're having these sort of fractious relationships between home and school and stuff. And what I thought that was brilliant about tonight was that there was no separation of, well, if you're a parent, do this, and if you're a teacher, do that. It was just like, look, if you're an adult and you love someone with ADHD, whether they're a fellow adult or whether they're a child with ADHD, just do this stuff. And like there was
Yeah.
hacks and strategies and real life stuff and stuff you don't find in a textbook.
Exactly that. And I think it's really interesting. Sorry, my cat's just jumped onto the table. Um, it's really interesting that you mentioned education there, because there was a really big flavour of people just feeling quite disillusioned by the
Yeah,
education system and how it just hasn't moved on with the times.
yeah,
And I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I said, if you ask most people, think of somebody with ADHD, they reply, "Oh, a 9-year-old boy just running round and round a classroom."
naughty boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's not that. And Alex brought this up in his webinar today, that women and girls in particular have been very overlooked in the world of ADHD. And you couple that with the fact that our working lives now, especially since COVID, flexible working, hybrid working is much more of a thing. Yet our schools are still so insistent on a very sort of cookie cutter model.
yeah,
And I talk about schools. I talk about schools very fondly because I am an educator. I'm an ex-head. I've been a teacher since 2005. I blimmin' love schools and I love learning. But increasingly, I'm finding that the world we're in now, it doesn't align with schools. And it was really interesting listening to Alex, who is an exceptionally successful individual,
yeah.
talk through all of the struggles he's had with learning, all of the struggles he's had with business, that he's had to learn by failure and then use that information to then, do things differently a different time. He is exceptionally successful. And, what a role model for our youngsters who are struggling in the outdated education system,
Yeah.
to know that there is something amazing out there, because they are amazing,
Yes.
you know?
But you know what? When we talk to kids, doesn't matter whether it's, they've got ADHD or not. It doesn't matter whether they're neurodivergent or not. Our voice as the adult in their life, whoever that adult is, becomes their inner monologue, becomes the words that they say to
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So one of the things that he was talking about, and it's on his podcast, and do check out his podcast, ADHD Chatter. One of the things he was talking about on his podcast was he interviewed a lady who was saying that she'd given this cuddly toy to her daughter. And oh my God, I wrote it down what it said. Oh, I bet I'm not going to find it now. Was it you're never too
Yes,
much? No, never too much.
never
That's what
too
it was.
much. Yeah.
Never too much. On a two-pronged attack there, because it's saying that she's never too much as a child. Like, because we do get told, particularly as ADHD women, you are too much. I got told the other day, my glasses, these ones, are hideous and I'm too much. Bring it. I don't care. If I'm too much, switch off, scroll on. But you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but you're not too much. That's their perception of you doesn't define who you are. But
Mm-hmm.
also that it opens up that conversation between, mother and daughter in this instance. And it's something I'm very passionate about, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
because we share conversations about this every night,
Yep.
with our constant podcast voice notes. Um,
Yeah.
9 minutes, 11 minutes. So when people think, oh, they're having a break from doing their reels, no, we're not. We're just doing them to each other at night time. So, but one of the things that I'm really passionate about is saying to my daughters, and I've got, hundreds of them, no, full, but saying to them that what you're going to bring to me is not too
Yeah.
much. It's okay. And that's a really important conversation. And I'm not saying I get it right all the time, but as you know, and as the world knows, because, one of my girls is very insistent on coming on Facebook Lives and receiving emojis back because she thinks she's some sort of celebrity. And she does walk around, and she'll say, like, that person's looking at me over there. Is it because I'm famous? But she's really confident because we've given her those positive affirmations. So they've got locked in her head. So she's like, I am great. And I have difficulties, but it's all right because I've got a tool to get around that, or I've got a tool to work through that. And that's all we can ever do, isn't it? As parents,
Absolutely that. And I'm a few years behind you, because it's quite funny, we're fairly similar in age, but you're in the throes of teenage madness,
Yeah.
and I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I'm just like navigating this and thinking, what the blooming hell's going on half the time. But it was really interesting because Alex did talk about that whole you can come to me with anything, nothing's too much. And as I was listening to him, I was thinking, this is how Chrissa parents. This is exactly what she does with her girls. And we were having this conversation literally the other day that you have brought your girls up to know that even when they screw up, because we all do, that they can come to you. You're that safe space for them to go, hey, I screwed up. And this was really resonating when Alex was talking about, rejection sensitive dysphoria, and how that's a really, really big sort of feature of his ADHD, and lots of people in the chat were saying the same. And it must just be so exhausting to have to feel every day that you are doing things wrong, that you are too much, that you are too sensitive, too emotional. And how validating must it be then for your girls and all the girls out there in the world whose mothers are the same, to know no matter what, it's all right. Like, and that gives them the tools to then fight that RSD. Sorry about my cat. Fight that RSD when it comes sort of rampaging through their lives, and it's just an amazing thing.
But I don't think, I think it's still a constant battle. Like, I'm not afraid to say, although I won't go into details, like this week, there has been something where my teenager has come to me and, it's come to my attention that she's done something that I'm quite disappointed in, and she's also disappointed in. It does look like you've got a beard. Just saying.
Yeah.
But when I sort of spoke about it to her, there was no hesitation in giving me the honest truth about it. And I valued that. And I said, I'm going to take a little while to work through this so I know how to come back to you. But I want you to understand that whilst it probably doesn't feel okay, we're going to move through this together. The word together is so important. And I also, this is the first time I've encountered this as a parent, so I need you to respect a little space for me so I can navigate the next part for us both in the right way and not under pressure. And she's very like me. She can be very intense, she can be very loud, and I love her for it, but it's also very difficult to parent. But she really respected that. I love this.
At least you waited until after the webinar to do this.
Yeah, this is true.
Usually it's all the way through the webinar.
This is true. I mean, one of the reasons I'm in the office doing the webinar is, my little kitten that features now and again on social media. For some reason, she thought that my t-shirt, this just black t-shirt, was the tastiest thing. And so she's been absolutely attacking me like catnip. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? She's like jumping on me. And I was like, I can't do a webinar like that. So also, executive function. I was meant to do the webinar at home, wasn't I? And left my laptop at home today when I was working. So I've had to work off my phone all day because I've been in and out of meetings. Went home and thought, right, I've got my laptop at home. I'll do the webinar at home, only to find my chargers left in the office. I mean, executive function and planning at its finest. So I've come back into the office. Anyway, as usual, we've digressed, but I will be, oh my God, there are so many of these notes. I will be sort of digesting them all.
Yeah.
Honestly, I cannot show you how many notes are all over my desk. It's quite embarrassing. But I'm going to leave them here for tomorrow, safe space and all that.
It was an absolutely brilliant webinar. And
it really was.
People are not on the Sunshine Academy, I would recommend subscribing. It's going to come on in about 8 weeks' time, to watch it, because it is just life changing. And now what I'm going to go and do, as you know